Hello, welcome to the Sovereign Magazine Show. We are a transformational experience where conscious conversations meet embodied wisdom. Each episode invites visionary healers, thought leaders, and change makers to share their journeys of awakening, offering listeners practical tools and soul stirring insights to reclaim their inner authority. Today, we have Cassandra Ares, and we are going to be talking about internal, the energetic leadership blueprint. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Cass?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So what I like to say is I am sort of a dynamic blend, if you will, of corporate leader and spiritual intuitive. I really balance all of it throughout the boardroom. And then when I get home, I am a numerologist certified in numerology, using my gifts with channel, with obviously what we're going to introduce today. And I really, really embrace authenticity, which actually tends to have a different definition for everyone. And we can probably in this series go into depth around that as well. I really look for self-liberation and where all of us can find that within ourselves, and just helping everyone really try and find their true version of freedom, and doing that through internal leadership.
Yeah. And I'm so incredibly excited to talk about this today because I don't think that there is a person on this earth who has not worked in corporate, who has not had issues with either coworkers or a boss. I don't think that's possible. But this is going to go beyond so much more than just that. We are going to really set and lay the foundation for leadership in general, not only just yourself leadership, but leadership in whatever business you're working in, whether you're an entrepreneur or in the corporate world. And so I'm going to hand it over to you because you are the expert today. And I just can't wait for what you all are going to experience throughout this year journey. We're going to be doing some role playing with our own numerology. So definitely like, share, subscribe, and stick around because if you really want to enhance your life and your corporate world or entrepreneur world, stick around. Okay, go ahead,
Absolutely.
Cass.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, just to follow up on what you said, I think it's really, really important to recognize that we're leaders in every single moment of every single day. So whether that's in our personal lives, whether it's in the corporate world, like you were mentioning, it doesn't matter. There are leaders, there are followers in every single interaction that we have. And there's leaders and the way that we lead ourselves through things. So that is where internal sort of comes in. But I kind of wanted to kick it off talking about follow the leader. And so most of us at some point in our lives played this game where we follow the leader and we're a kid and we're walking behind our teacher and we're doing what they do. And sometimes it's a fun game, and other times it's because you need to walk out to recess or whatever it may be. Well, that's all great and fantastic, but what I see in the corporate world and even just in the day to day is that most adults in leadership are still playing follow the leader. And they're still playing this game, um, but we just give it fancier names, right? And it's job titles and it's corporate ladders and it's niche authority that we have, but it's still mimicry. And so I think just thinking about leadership in that way and how most people, whether we realize it or not, we've actually copied. And so there is that bit of mimicry because we see what folks have told us is the way to lead. And so it's been very, very external. And some of my notes here, one of the things that really is very apparent to me in the corporate world, but also think about when we were kids, was when we were praised, or that person who's leading in a certain way or speaking up in a certain way is praised versus punished. And so we sort of like in our brains are taking stock in all of those things. And as kids, we're super malleable, right? And so we're recognizing like, do this, don't do that because of the external circumstances and the different seasons of life that we're in. And slowly what happens is that we stop listening to our own instincts. And I think that's the thing, again, that I see the most throughout adulthood, whether it's relationships I have with others, it's the team that I support, it's my leaders within the organization, and just recognizing that there are often times that we just stop listening to ourselves, regardless of whether or not we know the truth in whatever situation we're in. So, what I would like to call us up to is the fact that there are many instances in our lives, and I still do it myself, where we've been mirroring power instead of embodying it. And my hope is that that ends here.
Yeah,
What one thing that I would like to do, and maybe you'd like to play along, Nicole, in
I
this
will play.
question, but one of the things that I do with some of my coaching clients is I say, think about who you modeled your leadership after, right? So that's one of them. And is it a parent, a boss, a coach? Think about the people that you looked up to. Again, these external relationships and sort of what data points are we taking in of what's a good leader look like, right? Again, looking outside of ourselves. And this is the version, right, that we have created that most people are reacting to. And it's not actually our truth, it's our training. So I just wonder,
Yeah.
Nicole, does anyone come to mind, like even if it's like a celebrity that you thought was the coolest when you were younger or whatever it may be?
Yeah. I think you're going to be really thrown off by what I'm going to say. I've actually taken a conglomeration of everyone in my life and done the exact opposite of what they've done because I feel like a lot of people I've been around have been really toxic. And I am a very gentle leader. And when
Mhm.
I was in the corporate world in a nursing managerial role, um, I proved that my leadership style worked. I had the best, what is it called, engagement scores in the entire organization. And I had the COO at the time come to me and say, how did you do it? And when I told her, she was like, I don't like that. Okay, well, I've got the numbers and the happy staff to prove it. Sorry. And then it just became issue after issue, ultimately leading to me leaving. And I lead my team now how I led them, and I have very happy team because I believe that when you treat your team how you would most desire to be treated in all aspects of your life, for me, that's with love and kindness and understanding and appreciation. There is not a day that goes by that I don't say thank you. I treat them with respect. You know how I speak to the customers. I speak to my team how I speak to the customers. So, and that is because of how I was spoken to. I don't like to be yelled at. I don't like to be talked to rudely. I don't like all these things. And so I'm the opposite of what I've received or seen. So sorry, that might
Well,
not fit.
I think that's really important though, because either way, and it's not to say let's be honest, you're living in much of your authenticity and you have figured out how to do this regardless of tool. And that's what I often say, like the awareness doesn't need to be in numbers. It could be in numerology, it could be in human design, it could be again like a collaboration of all of those things, but it still started with external data points. There is
Hmm.
no way I am going to be that toxic individual. And so to your point, you still proved my point that there may not have been leaders in your life that you were looking to, but it was still external to yourself that then helped you harness what works for you and what works for the people around you. So thank
Yeah,
you.
100%.
But to that point, even the way that that leader reacted, right? In my mind, there's three huge buckets and origins of leadership. conditioning specifically, right? And so one of them is family.
Mhm.
The second is culture, however you want to define that. And the third is performance. And so leadership conditioning can start as early as, when we exit the room and we're playing follow the leader and we're seeing different teachers and we're interacting with family members and the way that they expect things or they tell us they need them, right? And that's how they lead the family. I'm saying this in a certain tone that I think a lot of people will understand. But oftentimes, not in your case, but oftentimes we copied again what was praised and we avoided what was punished. Now, in your case, you probably were being punished. And so you were like, I'm gonna do the exact opposite of this because of this external data point that does not work for me.
Mhm.
So it's just very interesting to have that be the place from which we react. And so from that, what happens from all of that conditioning that we spoke about, I think we talked about a lot of the points that I've got in my notes here, so I want to move on from that. But what happens is burnout, right? What happens is
Yep.
overthinking. What happens is chronic self-doubt. Gosh, we see this in literally, I mean, we do it even when we're the most spiritual and tuned in folks. Like it is just something that we do. There's energetic collapse in multiple forms, nervous system, all of the things, right? And then communication breaks down. And so leading from an inauthentic place that doesn't work from you causes all of these things to happen that eventually affects your actual human vessel. And that's what we want
Mhm.
to avoid. And it's also what I call the energetic mismatch. And for me, it's pretty apparent when this happens or when this is recurring because there are certain tells in a person's body or the way that they don't have a way to communicate about it. So those are two things to sort of like recognize in yourself. If it's hard to communicate like about your job, first of all, that's just a like, hey, a green flag for, hey, let's take awareness, let's take in stock what we're doing here, but also recognize the overperformance, the second guessing, and how many times you might do that a day. Um, did I say the right thing on this call? Is that how so and so would have reacted? How, like, oh, they were giving me that look. Is that what I should have said? Like, all of those things are undermining the inherent internal leadership that you have because you have been conditioned to look outside of yourself, which is the exact
Mhm.
opposite of being the sovereign woman that we're trying to get to here. So,
Mhm.
um, one of the things that I wrote down specifically about energetic mismatch is it's the real cause. Energetic mismatch is the real cause of most leadership dysfunction. It's not a lack of strategy, it's a lack of self-alignment. So again, external versus internal. So let's get into really briefly, right? What is this energetic leadership blueprint? Like, Cass, you keep mentioning internal, internal, internal. What I want to be very clear about is this is not a personality type thing. This is about your inherent energetics that I believe you signed up to sort of bring into this life, whether you were in past lives or not. And it's a field of energy that you have that you are constantly carrying with you, that you have the ability to bring awareness to and to shift once you have that awareness. And so having this frequency helps you shape how you hold space, how you make decisions, how you set boundaries, create safety for yourself, and how you regulate your energy, not only your nervous system, but literally all of your energy. And so one thing to be aware of is it also govern what drains you, what triggers you, and how you lead without trying. Like you don't even think about it, and that's just how you lead. So
Mhm.
internal is sort of a methodology with leadership framework paired with the type of numerology that I have learned and lived for a very long time now. But it really It's a decoding of your energy specific to how you lead yourself in this life. It's not types or traits, but fields of energy. Included in an energetic blueprint is 8 different archetypes. And so there's no numbers. Yes, I believe heavily in sort of the numerology teachings and the energy teachings that are throughout it, but we'll talk about briefly like the 8 archetypes that I focus on from a leadership perspective and the embodied energetics that sort of go along with each of those. They I do exclude types of energies from this specifically, and one is the karma, and another number is called the hidden key. And so both of those, the karma, in my belief, is something that you've chosen to sort of work on in this life, and you've brought it from a past life. And so we don't want to focus on wounds or like the potential far off future. We want to focus on the now and sort of where you sit in that leadership and where your energetic field is immediately and where it's leading you from the inside.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I'm just briefly going to go through these again. Like, I don't know if we'll have like show notes or whatever, but I'm happy to also share some slides. We can link them there. But the first is leadership self-perception. And that is really how you naturally perceive yourself and approach things in a leadership lens. So think about leadership self-perception is really just that natural go-to and how you view yourself. Leadership trajectory is the second, and that's our long range leadership trajectory. That's what we're meant to master in this life, and perhaps we have in a past life, but that's really where we're going. And that's like the master and the model of where we're headed. Then there's your innate strength. And what I found really fascinating in the past is that people have no idea that this is a strength. And then when you show them, like, no, like you're really, really great at this, all of a sudden they're living in these moments where they're like, oh yeah, I have done that naturally my entire life and just had no idea. But it's that unique contribution that you give to any environment with little or no effort whatsoever. Then we get into some fun ones. So the stress response pattern. And so this is what I call the behavioral fallback in times of stress. So how it affects leadership clarity and like the team cohesion. So even if that's the family unit, if that's the friend unit, it doesn't necessarily, I'm speaking about it sort of in more corporate terms, but it's really about those immediate folks that are around you and how the way that you react is also affecting all of them.
Mhm.
Relational dynamics. So this is how you lead in relationships. This is literally like this number. I'm trying not to go into too much detail because this is what I do. I over deliver and then we're going to go on an hour and we don't have it. But this is how you lead in a relationship. This is your communication default. Think about team dynamics, family dynamics, any sort of relationship that you're in. And it's also your trust signals. So where you may lack trust, where others may lack trust in you, that's where this type of energy lives. Then there's the blind spot. This is the unconscious influence you hold. And it's not always the super positive. But we have the ability to, once we are made aware of it, to ask people to tap us on the shoulder when they see it happening. I love the blind spot. Mine's very fun. And then the last that I want to talk about is the embodiment style. And this is just the way that your presence impacts the culture of a place, the confidence of a place, the clarity. Think bigger picture. It's not just about me, it's about we when we think about embodiment.
Okay.
And all I want to say is within each of these, right, there's often like, oh, well, now I've got this label and I just am this way. No, that's not the point of this. The point of this is to see where you are in this moment energetically and then to move into where you believe you want to go next. Again, assessing everything internally and then moving through. because this system isn't supposed to label you, it is supposed to liberate you. It's the whole point. And then I just wanted to mention, I think it's really important that there are moments in our life where we receive advice and it doesn't land. It doesn't
Mhm.
feel right. And I want not that anyone needs or should search for the validation, but I want this moment to be a confirmation that it didn't land because it was never meant for your nervous system. I think that's incredibly important. Um,
Mhm.
the moments that we've been told to be more confident or speak up or show up more or, oh, delegate that. Why are you doing that? Or, you need to take a step back. That may be the total opposite of what your strength is and how you lead, especially when you think about leading yourself. And so I want it to be a confirmation that it was never meant for you. If that felt like this is so far off from what I should be doing in this moment, you were probably right. So
Yeah.
again, confirmation there. And again, if we're still trying to lead like someone else, we're always going to feel like we're faking it. A lot of times I have people come to me and they're like, oh, like I just have imposter syndrome, imposter syndrome. And I had a coach one time tell me, like, you can't be an imposter. You know what an imposter is? Someone who is aware and trying to do something fraudulent. And there isn't anyone that I've met in my coaching, in my personal life that's actually trying to do something fraudulent. So this imposter syndrome, this fake it till you make it, is not the way that we want to be leading in this new world that we want to create. We
Mhm.
don't need better leadership strategies. We need more energetic discernment. And that's why I built internal, because it gives you that.
Mm.
So
Mm.
just really, really quickly, what we're going to learn in this series is how you see yourself, how others feel about you, how you collapse under pressure, because that's incredibly important to know when you're triggered, how you hold power without force, because I think that is so needed right now in this moment, and how to lead from embodiment and not effort. So each episode, where my hope is again that we walk through one archetype at a time over the series. Nicole and I are going to role play. We're going to have a lot of fun. You will see this in practice in situations that probably are going to land and be very familiar to you. And you're finally going to understand why some relationships or roles or decisions drain you and don't feel
For
right,
sure.
and how to
For
lead
sure.
differently without abandoning yourself entirely.
Mm.
Um, I do have a couple like prompts, just some things
Yeah.
to think about. I know like I'm on my podium and I'm just talking a lot, but you know
I
me.
want you to be.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's also
I love
something that's apparent in your energetics if you ever want to get your blueprint. Um,
it.
but one of the things that I ask myself when I'm feeling like super not grounded and in my own body and in my own leadership is where where in your life have you been mimicking leadership instead of embodying it?
Mm.
And so let this be like a permission slip to stop auditioning for leadership, because you already lead. Every single person is already a leader. It's just in how they show up that's different. So let's throw all those definitions out the window and let's get to work and really think about this. So for my hope is that there's both going to be solo people who might be watching this, but then there might be teams, right? That are interested in sort of seeing where this can go. And so for anyone individually who is watching this, my invitation to you would be to journal or voice note about Who taught you what leadership should look like? And where did you first start editing yourself?
Mm.
And then for any teams or organizations, again, I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs who have their own teams and whatnot here, but this is like an invitation to pause and reflect and just ask, no judgment, but who set the tone for leadership here? Like Nicole, you set the tone for how you lead your team, and then you create space for how they want to lead themselves in the work.
100%.
And then ask, is it still serving?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think next time we'll begin where all leadership begins, right? With how you see yourself. Again,
Mm.
Nicole and I are gonna find some ways to use her leadership blueprint to sort of act out some of these scenarios or at least talk about them. Um, and if your inner image feels distorted, your leadership field will too. So let's just work on that together and not even make it the problem that it probably is today.
Oh, I love this. I love this so much. My mind is going like 1,000 miles a minute, processing all of this. And I think that it's going to be really fun for anybody watching because you're going to get a lot of insight into the behind the scenes of how I run Sovereign. And it's very, very different. And I'm realizing now the reason it's different is because I'm in stage 8. I embody my leadership, and I always have. And I'll give a little hint. And I've lost a lot of people in my life because I've always embodied my leadership. I have lost a lot of jobs because I've never given up that part of me. Was not willing to compromise who I truly am in order to fit their mold. And so we will find out more about that as we go through this show, and I'll find out about it through my own numerology and perhaps why I am like that. My father was a very successful entrepreneur. However, I think he had a little bit different leadership style than I did. He grew up in a different time and he just ruled with an iron fist. So yeah, definitely am not that way. But I will leave with a little story of how I encourage everybody on the team to embody their own leadership while setting the tone for what is needed. We have a new team member that is starting and in our team WhatsApp group. We welcomed her and everybody welcomed her. And then she said, thank you with a GIF. And she said, I hope it's okay that I share gifts. They really make me happy and help me express myself. And of course, I said, I want you to be exactly who you are. But when you're customer facing, we're a little different, right? So they're setting the tone
Yeah.
for with us, be your whole self. When we're with our customers, sending a gift might not be okay, but I want you to be yourself with us. And that's where you can marry the two. And I think that I set the tone perfectly in a very kind and gentle way. And communication and expectations are so important to me, and how we speak to each other and how we speak to the clients is how we speak to each other. So it
Mm.
it flows all together. So throughout this time, it will be really fun to unravel all of this with you. So for anyone who wants to know more, Cass is in our community.sovereign-magazine.com. All her details will be in the show notes. We'll also put those prompts down below as well. And we look forward to the next one. So definitely like, share, subscribe, comment below. It helps us reach more people. All right. See you on the next one, Cass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm.